Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going somewhere pretty amazing. We're heading up north to the north shore of Lake Superior in Minnesota. We're going to be diving into the mystery of Devil's Kettle. Have you heard of this?
Oh yeah, Devil's Kettle. It's a natural wonder that has confused people for well, basically ever since people have known about it.
It really is a place where you can see just the raw power of nature, where a seemingly regular, river does something absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah.
So picture this. You're hiking, you're in Judge C.R. Magney State Park, and you're surrounded by just thick forest. The air is crisp. You can hear the roar of the Brule River in the distance.
As you get closer and closer to Devil's Kettle, you start to see the river and it splits in two. One side goes down a typical waterfall. The other side plunges into a giant hole in the rock and disappears.
Vanishes, like poof, gone.
Yeah.
It's like something out of a movie or something. It's crazy.
It's really wild.
And people have been trying to figure out where that water goes for, centuries.
Oh yeah, and they've come up with some wild theories too.
Oh, I bet.
Some thought it led to a massive underground river system.
Right?
Maybe a direct connection to Lake Superior.
Right. I was reading about all the different ways that people have tried to track this water.
Oh, yeah.
They've tossed in everything, dyed ping pong balls, even logs.
Exactly. And nothing, absolutely nothing has ever resurfaced.
Wow.
It's like Devil's Kettle swallowed it whole.
So for years and years and years, this remained a total mystery. How did we finally start getting some answers?
Well, science stepped in, of course. The Minnesota DNR used some pretty sophisticated equipment and techniques to measure the water flow. They wanted to know exactly how much water was going into the kettle and how much was coming out downstream.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. What did they find? Was this like a portal to another dimension after all?
Not quite.
Okay.
Turns out the water rejoins the Brule River just a short distance downstream. No mystical underground rivers, no secret portals.
So the water's basically taking a shortcut through the rock.
Yeah, that's the idea. The best guess we have is that the water is traveling through a network of cracks and fissures within the basalt rock. Like a hidden underground maze, carved out over millions of years by the river's force.
So if it's that simple, why did it take so long to figure this out?
Well, basalt is incredibly tough stuff.
Okay.
And mapping those underground cracks and crevices, especially in a place like Devil's Kettle, it's not easy at all.
So we know the water rejoins the river, but we don't know exactly how it gets there. That leaves a lot of room for the imagination, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. And that's part of what makes Devil's Kettle so fascinating. Even with a scientific explanation, there's still a sense of mystery. Like nature has a few secrets up its sleeve.
Always.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we dive any deeper into that mystery of these underground passages and all that, I think we need to take a step back and talk about the rock itself, the basalt.
Right.
What makes this so special?
Well, basalt is volcanic rock formed from cooled lava. And what makes the basalt at Devil's Kettle so unique is its age. It was formed about 1.1 billion years ago.
That's a mind-boggling number.
Yeah, it's ancient.
So this basalt has witnessed the formation of continents, ice ages, the whole shebang.
The whole thing. This rock has seen it all. And that ancient history is part of what makes not just Devil's Kettle, but the whole area so fascinating.
Now, I know that the Brule River plays a pretty key role in this whole story. It's not just some gentle little stream kind of meandering through the park, is it?
No, not at all. The Brule River is a powerful force. Over millennia, it's carved its way through this ancient basalt, shaping the landscape we see today. And that includes these dramatic waterfalls and, of course, the mysterious Devil's Kettle.
It's amazing to think about just the immense power of water, how it can shape even the toughest rock over time.
It really is. And it's a powerful reminder that even seemingly unyielding things can be changed by persistent forces. It's a lesson we can apply to lots of aspects of life, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got this ancient, incredibly hard basalt and this powerful river carving its way through it. What was it about this specific spot that created Devil's Kettle?
Well, that's where the specifics get a little bit murky. It probably involves some kind of weakness in the basalt, maybe a fault line or a series of fractures. And the river, being the persistent force that it is, exploited that weakness over eons, eventually creating the kettle.
It makes you wonder what's going on beneath the surface, what those underground channels look like a whole hidden world down there.
I know. Who knows what else we might discover as we continue to explore. Maybe those ping pong balls are having a grand old time down there, bouncing around in some giant cavern.
Yeah, that would be a sight to see. I can just picture our listeners out there trying to wrap their heads around this whole scene. It's hard to grasp the scale of this without actually being there,
Yeah, you're right.
to see it with your own eyes.
It's one thing to hear about it, but it's another to stand there and see the river vanish before your eyes. It's a truly humbling experience.
So for folks who can't make it up to Minnesota, what are some ways that they can experience Devil's Kettle virtually?
Well, there are some amazing videos and photos online. And of course, your channel, Untold Chronicles, has some fantastic content on Devil's Kettle and other natural wonders. It's a great way to experience these places from the comfort of your own home.
Absolutely. We've got some great footage of Devil's Kettle, so be sure to check that out on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and share the channel with your friends. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the cultural significance of Devil's Kettle.
Right. This is where things get really interesting. Long before the scientists arrived with their instruments and their desire to measure everything, the Ojibwe people, who are native to this region,
Yeah.
they saw waterfalls as very sacred places, places of power.
Okay, let's pause right there for a second. We're just about out of time for part 1 of this deep dive. But don't worry, we'll be back soon with part 2, where we'll explore the legends and the stories surrounding Devil's Kettle.
Yeah. We'll delve into how those ancient beliefs intertwine with modern science and what makes this place such an enduring source of fascination.
So until then, keep exploring, keep wondering, and we'll see you back here soon for more of the deep dive,
Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
where we are still unraveling the mysteries of Devil's Kettle.
Picking up where we left off, we were talking about the cultural significance of this place, specifically the beliefs of the Ojibwe people.
Yeah, because long before the scientists came around with their, fancy instruments and their measurements and all that stuff, the Ojibwe people had their own understanding of Devil's Kettle.
For the Ojibwe people, waterfalls were seen as these thresholds between worlds, places where spirits dwelled.
So you can imagine how a place like Devil's Kettle, with its disappearing water, its hidden depths, would really spark their imagination.
Oh, absolutely. Waterfalls played a central role in Ojibwe cosmology and storytelling.
Do we know any specific Ojibwe stories or legends that are directly tied to Devil's Kettle?
While specific tales about Devil's Kettle might not have been widely documented, we can piece together a broader understanding from Ojibwe traditions surrounding waterfalls.
That makes sense. So what kinds of themes or ideas were often associated with waterfalls in Ojibwe culture?
Well, waterfalls were often seen as places of creation, where life originated or was renewed. They were also places of transformation where individuals could undergo spiritual journeys or connect with the spirit world.
So it's not just about the physical beauty of the waterfall, but also its deeper spiritual significance.
Yeah, it's about the unseen forces at play, the power of nature to shape not just the landscape, but also our beliefs and our understanding of the world.
And then, of course, you have the arrival of European settlers who brought with them their own set of beliefs and interpretations.
Right, and it's so interesting to see how those beliefs sometimes clashed or merged with existing Ojibwe perspectives.
Yeah, and even the name Devil's Kettle seems to reflect a very different worldview than that Ojibwe reverence for waterfalls as these sacred places.
Oh, absolutely. The name hints at a sense of fear, unease, perhaps even a belief in supernatural forces.
You can almost picture those early settlers seeing the water vanish into this seemingly bottomless pit
Yeah.
and wondering, what lurks beneath the surface.
And it's easy to see how all these stories and legends would have sprung up around such a mysterious place.
So Devil's Kettle becomes this really fascinating blend of indigenous beliefs, settler folklore, and scientific inquiry.
It's kind of a microcosm of how these different ways of knowing and understanding the world can coexist and sometimes even inform each other.
And it also, I think, highlights how our relationship with nature is so multifaceted. We want to understand it scientifically, but we also can't help but be awed by its mystery and its beauty.
Yeah. And sometimes those two perspectives complement each other beautifully. The more we learn about the science behind a natural phenomenon, the more we can appreciate its intricacy and its wonder.
Now, speaking of science, we talked earlier about how researchers were finally able to kind of explain how the water rejoins the Brule River.
Right. They were able to measure the water flow and debunk those earlier theories about underground rivers leading to Lake Superior.
But even with those explanations, there's still a sense of mystery surrounding Devil's Kettle, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we know that the water rejoins the river, but we still don't know the exact path that it takes beneath the surface.
It's like this hidden labyrinth down there, and who knows what else we might discover if we could actually map those underground channels.
Exactly. It's a great reminder that there's always more to learn, always more to explore. Even in this age of scientific advancement, nature still holds on to some of its secrets.
And that's part of what makes these places so captivating. They spark our curiosity, they challenge our assumptions, and they remind us that the world is full of wonders that we may never fully comprehend.
It's about embracing the unknown, acknowledging that there are forces at play that are bigger than ourselves, and recognizing that the pursuit of knowledge is this ongoing process.
It's also about respecting those different ways of knowing, whether it's through scientific inquiry, indigenous wisdom, or the stories and legends that have been passed down through generations.
And it's about recognizing the importance of preserving these special places, not just for their scientific value, but for their cultural significance and their ability to inspire awe and wonder.
Speaking of inspiring awe and wonder, let's talk about Devil's Kettle as a tourist destination. People come from all over to see this natural wonder.
It's a popular spot for hikers, for nature lovers, really for anyone who's curious about the mysteries of the natural world.
And with that popularity, there comes a responsibility to protect this environment, right? This fragile environment.
Oh, absolutely. Balancing tourism with conservation is such a delicate act. We want to make sure that people can experience the beauty of Devil's Kettle without harming it.
So what are some ways that Judge C.R. Magney State Park is working to protect Devil's Kettle and the surrounding area?
Well, they've established designated trails to minimize that impact of foot traffic. And they have these educational programs that help teach visitors about the importance of conservation.
And they also have those really strict rules against throwing anything into the kettle, right?
Yeah, no more ping pong balls, no more dye experiments.
It's about respecting the kettle for what it is, a natural wonder that deserves our admiration and our protection.
And recognizing that our actions have consequences. We all have a role to play in preserving these special places for future generations.
Now, before we move on to our final thoughts on Devil's Kettle, I want to remind everyone about your YouTube channel, Untold Chronicles.
It's a fantastic resource for anyone who's interested in exploring the world's mysteries and uncovering the stories behind them.
You've got some amazing videos on Devil's Kettle, as well as other natural wonders, historical enigmas, unexplained phenomena.
So if you're enjoying this deep dive, be sure to check out Untold Chronicles on YouTube. Subscribe and share the channel with your friends.
Okay, let's shift gears back to Devil's Kettle for a second. We've talked about the science, the culture, the tourism, the conservation efforts.
Right.
But I think it's important to circle back to that sense of wonder and mystery that pervades this place.
I agree.
You're right. Even with all the scientific explanations, there's still something about Devil's Kettle that just captures the imagination.
It's that lingering question. What lies beneath the surface? What secrets do those underground channels hold?
Yeah, it's a reminder that there's always more to discover, always more to learn. And that's what makes exploring the natural world so exciting.
It's about embracing that sense of awe and acknowledging the limits of our own understanding.
And sometimes the most profound questions are the ones that don't have those easy answers.
Devil's Kettle is a perfect example of that. It's a place that continues to fascinate and inspire, even as we learn more about it.
It's a reminder that the world is full of wonders, both seen and unseen, and that the journey of discovery is never truly over.
And that's a beautiful thought to carry with us as we continue to explore the mysteries of the universe.
So as we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive into Devil's Kettle, I encourage you to hold on to that sense of wonder. Don't be afraid to ask questions, challenge assumptions, and embrace the unknown.
And remember, there's always more to discover, always more to learn. Keep exploring, keep wondering, and we'll see you back here soon for the final part of our Devil's Kettle deep dive.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
We're wrapping up our exploration of Devil's Kettle, that place where science and wonder collide.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? From the geological formations to the cultural narratives to the ongoing scientific inquiry, there's just so much to unpack.
And yet, even after all we've discussed, there's still a sense of mystery that lingers. Like Devil's Kettle is holding on to its secrets, inviting us to keep exploring and keep questioning.
I think that's part of what makes this place so fascinating. It reminds us that we don't have all the answers, that there's always more to discover.
It is a humbling realization, isn't it? We often think of science as having all the answers, but nature has a way of reminding us that there's still so much we don't know.
Definitely. And Devil's Kettle is a perfect example of that. We've learned a lot about how the water rejoins the Brule River, but the exact pathways it takes through those underground channels, it's still largely unknown, like a hidden world beneath our feet.
And who knows what future research might reveal? Maybe new technologies will allow us to map those underground passages in greater detail, or perhaps we'll discover something completely unexpected.
That's what's so exciting about science. It's a process of ongoing discovery. Each new finding opens up new questions, leading us deeper and deeper into the mysteries of the natural world.
And it's not just about the scientific findings themselves, it's about the journey, the process of asking questions and testing hypotheses and piecing together the puzzle.
I think Devil's Kettle also reminds us of how important it is to preserve these natural wonders. It's a place of beauty and mystery and cultural significance. It deserves our protection.
You're absolutely right. And that's a challenge we face all over the world, isn't it? Balancing that desire to experience these amazing places with the need to preserve them for future generations.
So what are some things that our listeners can do to be more responsible stewards of the environment?
Well, for starters, we can all make an effort to learn more about the places we visit. Understanding the unique challenges facing those environments can help us make better decisions about how we interact with them.
Right.
And supporting organizations that are working to protect these environments, whether it's through donations or volunteering or simply spreading awareness, we can all play a role in those conservation efforts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, when we're visiting these places, it's so important to follow the guidelines and the regulations that are in place. Staying on marked trails, packing out our trash, just respecting the natural environment. All essential steps.
I think it's also important to remember that these places hold such deep cultural significance for many people. We need to approach them with respect and sensitivity, understanding they're not just tourist destinations, but places of spiritual and historical importance.
Yeah, exactly. And that ties back to what we were discussing earlier about those different ways of knowing and understanding the world. We can learn so much from indigenous cultures and their perspectives on nature.
Well said. As we wrap up our deep dive into Devil's Kettle, I want to encourage everyone out there to hold on to that sense of wonder and curiosity. Don't be afraid to ask questions, explore new ideas, and embrace the mystery.
And remember, the journey of discovery doesn't end here. There's a whole world out there waiting to be explored, full of wonders that will challenge our assumptions and expand our understanding.
And if you're looking for more fascinating stories and deep dives into the world's mysteries, be sure to check out Untold Chronicles on YouTube.
We've got tons of amazing content exploring everything from natural phenomena to historical enigmas. Subscribe and share the channel with your friends.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Devil's Kettle. We hope you've enjoyed the journey, and that you'll continue to explore and learn and wonder about the world around us.